So silver is pushing $50 an ounce. And here's the really weird thing. So instead of buying it in the 30s or 40s, people are now starting to buy it as it approaches 50. As you guys know, we had a lot more sellers than buyers most of this year, but dealers are starting to report that people are coming in now and buying silver. So what is it? Is it FOMO, or is it something fundamentally different that is causing this shift as we approach $50 an ounce? Well, today we are going to find out, because we are going to ask a coin dealer, Keith from the Coin Crew, and see exactly what's going on. And real quick, guys, don't forget that SD Bullion, my channel sponsor, has a great deal on fractional Britannias, 1/10 ounce. If you buy a monster box, you get a full tube free. I'm going to put a link in the description below. And thank you to SD Bullion for sponsoring my channel. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are joined by Keith with the Coin Crew. Keith, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
That's good to hear, man. Listen, I want to get right into it, because something I heard from Josh last week and something I've heard from you, and other dealers are starting to say this as well, is that with silver approaching $50 an ounce, all of a sudden we're starting to see people return to buying silver. You've had more customers come in, and my question to you is, why is that happening now as opposed to when silver was in the 30s? What's going on? Why would people buy it at almost 50 instead of, mid 30s?
Well, in my shop, we've when it was the mid 30s, early 40s, we had people kind of backing up saying, "Oh, I think this is it. I'm not going to buy for now," and they've held up. And now that they're seeing it approach the $50 mark, they're like, "Maybe this isn't it." So I don't know if you'd call it FOMO, but I think people's confidence have come back into silver is what's going on there.
So why do you think it's not just FOMO? I mean, people waited into, the mid 30s, like you had said, to the low 40s, and then they started coming back in. If they see it going to 50 and they think, all right, maybe this is the time it goes up, would that not be FOMO?
Yeah, that could be construed as FOMO, but what I'm seeing is I'm seeing some slow rise, and except for the last 3 sessions, I mean, usually it was about $1 per session up. But outside that, we've had some slow rises with a little bit of pullback, and that shows some strength in the bottom of the price.
Yeah, I actually agree. So yesterday we had a pretty decent pullback, and then it recovered all of those losses and more today. It seems like lately, every time there's a little bit of a pullback, it just rebounds and goes even higher. I guess my question then is, these people that are buying now, are they worried at all about what happened in 2011 happening again?
To be honest with you, I don't think anybody remembers it. At least they act like they don't. I don't think they're worried at all in the correlation with the $50 mark being where silver usually retreated aggressively. In 1980, in 2011, it went up to near the $50 mark. But now I think they're feeling like it's going to hold, if not go higher.
Now, is there a reason for that? I have mine, but I want to hear from you.
Is there a reason why I think it could go higher?
Well, is there a reason why your customers believe that this time 50 isn't the point where it just crashes back down?
Well, I think people were watching the market. As I said, they pulled back and we're not buying around the high 30s, low 40s, but they're seeing every time it goes up a little bit, it has a little bit of a correction, a pullback, as it's said. And they're seeing that, and then it's recovering the next day or two.
But that happened in 2011 also, though. I was around for it.
In 2011, it was going up faster.
Okay.
It was going up to $3, and some days not 50 cents to $1 like it's been lately. Again, I'm a little bit nervous about the past 3 sessions hitting that $1+ mark almost every session. So that gives me a little bit of reserve, but I've gained a little bit more confidence with Tuesday's pullback or yesterday's session pullback.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If we do go over $50 an ounce, and after it hits 50, that's the resistance level that many analysts are saying that's where silver breaks out, and it does break out to say 55, 60, 65, do you think people are going to continue to buy in, or are they going to be a little concerned that we're going to see a correction after 50 as opposed to, it continuing to break out?
I think people are going to continue to buy in as long as they see that couple sessions strong with a pullback or a correction. I think that puts a lot of confidence in the metal, in the silver product, so to say. And I don't think people's going to shy away as long as there's a few corrections here and there. It's if it goes up too fast, or if it's, all the investors in the paper market decide, hey, it's time to take profits, and then they decide not to buy back in because it didn't go low enough. then yeah, we could have some serious correction at that point.
Fair enough. So, do you think that the economy today is way different from 2011? And could that also be part of the reason that people are a bit more confident about silver now?
I think the economy is way different with the rate of inflation, the cost of products and services. Just about everything is so much more expensive. I think people are looking for somewhere to put their money to where they feel safe. Now, I know there's money to be made in crypto, in the stock market, but not everybody feels safe with that. They feel safe with something they can hold. And I think that's where silver and even gold will come in at.
Cool. I agree. So I didn't want to add my own 2 cents in until I asked you a few questions. See, my belief is, Keith, and I want to get your opinion as to what I think here, is that the reason that $50 feels more of a confident number now than it did in 2011 is because of kind of what you hinted at, right? So the economy, we're in a way worse position economy-wise than we were back then. You see, back then, there wasn't a whole lot other than, speculation in the market that really, as far as if you look at silver on an inflation hedge, that really said silver should be $50 an ounce. But today, when you look at how much more everything costs, it doesn't make sense that silver could really go back down like crazy. Obviously, it can correct, but I guess what I'm saying is this economy doesn't really support, something like $25 an ounce silver anymore like it did back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everything is so much more expensive. I don't remember the exact cost of gasoline, but I'm sure it was probably around $2, and now you're sitting $3 to $3.50 most places.
Well, it's not just gasoline, but if you look at housing and rent and energy costs and food, I mean, gasoline aside, because that's its own weird market.
Definitely weird.
Yeah, everything else is just so crazy expensive, right?
Yeah, you go buy some steak at the store, you're paying twice as much per pound for almost every meat you buy at the store. And rent, as you said, you could get, I don't know how it is in any other area of the country, but in my area, you could rent a house for $700-800, and now the low side is like $1,500 to $1,800 for a 2-3 bedroom house, and that's quite a bit of difference.
And that's just in what, 13, 14 years, right? Since 2011.
Yeah, that's just too much. People can't absorb that. And I think they're looking to, some people are looking for passive income streams, and some people, the people that are buying silver, are just looking for security to, I guess you could say, I don't know if the word insure, but preserve the money they've already earned. They want something to say, hey, I can get a gallon of gas with this money today. What if I keep it in cash? What if I keep it in silver? And they're saying, I'm not going to get anywhere near the amount of product if I keep the cash versus buy and put it in silver.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, a silver quarter, even $3.50 per gallon, a silver quarter now gets you over 2 gallons of gas.
Yeah, and in 1965, it got you one. So
it wasn't even that though. It was like you would need a quarter, and it was like 27 cents on average, I want to say.
Yeah, but still, my point is, it's pretty darn close. It's just amazing. I mean, silver is not the place to make money. It's the place to preserve the money you've already earned.
Gotcha. So let me ask you your own opinion, and this isn't a prediction. I promise we don't predict here, but would you feel comfortable like still continuing to add to your deep stack, your private stack, not for your business, but for your private stack at 60 or even $70 an ounce? Would you still feel comfortable there? Because $70, if you don't know this, according to the CP calculator, I think it's more than that, but according to the CP calculator, $70 an ounce is the real all-time high for silver. Would you be comfortable stacking it beyond that?
Yes, I'd be more than comfortable. I mean, call me crazy, but I'm not going to stop buying, even if it gets to 100. As long as the market supports that price level, I'm comfortable buying silver at just about any price.
What if we woke up tomorrow, Keith? If we woke up tomorrow and silver was $100 an ounce tomorrow?
If the economy supported, I would still buy it. But there's a lot of things that you have to look at. It's the price of everything else in reference to silver. Are you still able to buy at or about the same amount? I mean, because if I could buy a ridiculous amount more product for that amount of silver, I may question, is it worth the price?
Yeah, that makes sense. So what you're saying is if, like, let's say we wake up tomorrow and silver's $100 an ounce, but everything else remained the same. You know what I mean?
I probably would not be comfortable with it at that point.
That's fair. So, and that makes a very valid point for those people watching. You know, I've said in the past that I think if we ever very quickly, and I do mean very quickly, not in 2-3 years, but let's say we were to wake up tomorrow, Keith, and silver is $100 an ounce, it would almost have to be through a dollar collapse, right? The collapse of the value of our dollar, which means it's not really that silver is worth $100 at that point. It's that the $100 is only now worth 1 ounce of silver because the value of the dollar dropped so much, right?
Yeah, that's correct. It's really funny when you think about, past prices and stuff. Think back about 2 years ago, at or about, when silver was in the low 20s, people were saying the economy cannot support $50 silver, which was true. But look at it today, just a couple years down the road. And I could be a little off on the timing. I'm just using 2 years as a reference point. But look at it today. The economy is saying, I think we need silver at 50.
Yeah, the economy now supports it. So,
yes, and that changes over time.
Okay, so let's kind of shift back into what's going on in your store. So as you said, and others have said, people are starting to come back in and buy silver, and I think that's great. I think people should have silver. Should they have bought it a few months ago when it was, under 40? Of course, but they're buying, and I think that's great. The question now, Keith, is what are people buying? Are they buying rounds? Are they buying eagles, maples, bars? What is selling in your shop?
Well, it's a little bit of a mix, but if I have to say what are they buying the strongest, I would probably say 90% because it has the best value per dollar face versus an ounce of silver. You can get it at or about spot right now. In some cases, like if you had a half or a mercury dime or something, it may be slightly more. But for cash price, I think a lot of people are still selling it at or around the melt price. I do think that's going to be going up shortly, though, if the demand continues.
Okay. Yeah, and that's something I'm concerned about. If the demand continues to increase, we will see the return of premiums. So I was talking to Josh the other day. This is last week, actually, from My Night Coin and Bullion. And, he had told me, and I understand he is just one shop in one part of the country, but he had told me that he has the most demand he has ever seen for silver eagles. And he actually sold out for the first time in the history of his business. And we are including back when the premiums were like $20 an ounce because everyone was going crazy for him. The first time ever he sold out of silver eagles. Are you seeing a bump in silver eagle sales in your shop as well?
No, my silver eagles are pretty consistent. I'm not seeing a bump in that, but it doesn't mean that it's not happening elsewhere in the country.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's why I asked. Silver eagle premiums have come down quite a bit, though, haven't they?
Yeah, I think the wholesale is around the $4 mark, give or take a few.
Yeah.
But then you got to have money on top of that for retail.
Yeah, for sure. I get that. But it is nice to see those premiums coming back down. So, Keith, go ahead. You were going to say something?
No, I was just kind of taking a breath. I wasn't saying nothing. I was listening to you.
Fair enough. So where do you think we'll be in a couple of months as far as demand is concerned if we continue to see prices increase? What do you think? Are people going to keep buying? I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but just your final thoughts.
What I'm starting to see is with the increased demand for silver, whether it be 90% silver eagles, silver rounds, or whatever, I'm seeing a little bit of a slowdown in the selling back from the public. So what I'm thinking is it's going to start getting tighter, and I think that's going to increase the premiums.
Have you said you noticed a slowdown in sales? I actually got a question about that. Do you think that the slowdown in sales is because of the same reason you're starting to see an uptick in buyers because people see it going up and are like, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't sell yet? Or do you think that with the massive sell-off that we've had for the majority of this year, that people that want to sell are starting to run out of product?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happened. When you said sales, I think what you're referring to is people selling to me.
Right.
We have had a slowdown, and I think that is because people who have the stuff are running out of product, and people that are buying have sat on the sidelines and are now starting to have more faith in the price of silver, even though it's higher. And it's kind of weird when you think about it. It's just like anything else. Something could be $5 one day and you're like, oh, that's a terrible buy. And it's $10 the next, and you're like, oh, it's a great buy. People see price depending on the perspective, the lens that they're looking through. Just because it's higher doesn't mean it's a worse buy. There are a lot of factors that figure in what makes the price of any commodity, especially silver.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, Keith, that's really all I had today. But what I always like to do at my interviews is open the floor up. So is there anything I didn't ask or anything you wanted to cover that we didn't cover today?
I'm just a guy. I mean, what can I say? I think you covered about everything. You know, silver's picking up, me selling it. It's slowing down me buying it. And I guess that's about it.
Awesome. Well, Keith, as always, thank you for joining us. Guys, Keith, not only does he have his own coin shop in Muskegon, Michigan, but he's also a YouTuber and has his own YouTube channel. So I'm going to put a link for that in the description below, and you guys should definitely go over there and give him a sub. He has some great content. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks for having me.